So after finishing 4th in the Dubai Sevens, the Fijians are ready for the chance of redemption. And the good news about the Sevens circuit is you don't have to wait very long at all. Cape Town Sevens happening this weekend, where Fiji will look to right their wrongs. But in this preview, we'll be looking through at what happened last week in the Dubai Sevens, the upcoming fixtures for Fiji, their squad, and then also a prediction at the end of how far we think the Fijians will go in Cape Town. But starting with what happened last week in the Dubai Sevens, they were a part of Pool C alongside the USA, France and Great Britain. Now they were able to get themselves 2 out of the 3 wins, beating France and the USA, but then they were defeated by Great Britain, and it was one of those games that I don't think anyone predicted. 24-0 in favour of Great Britain. It certainly hurt them a little bit, the Fijians, for their final contest on day 1. By day 2, it seemed like those mistakes made in that game had disappeared, but then the second half of their quarterfinal up against Ireland happened. The first half went flawlessly, 29 points to 0, not giving Ireland any more than maybe 3% of the possession. But the second half, Ireland were doing the same thing to Fiji that Fiji did to Ireland in the first half. They actually brought it back to only being 5 points difference, 29 points to 24. The Fijians advanced, but it was certainly not quite the performance for the second 7 minutes that they would have been after. Their next game up against South Africa, they did lose at 14 points to 7 in the semi-finals. Now there is a certain level of unluckiness that came with that game for Fiji. There were certain points scored that were controversial, as there always is a little bit in this day and age. But the Fijians unfortunately just weren't quite able to get enough tries in that game to be able to walk away with the victory. Now South Africa, they did extremely well to be able to take the opportunities that they had, and they did go on to win the whole competition in Dubai. So of course, big congratulations to them. Fiji then had their match in the 3rd place playoff game up against New Zealand. They were defeated 17 points to 12. It was extremely close and going down to the wire, but just like New Zealand did to Samoa, they beat another Pacific Island side right on the closing whistle. So Fiji actually having 3 wins, 3 losses, very 50-50, but I have a feeling this week in Cape Town, they should be able to increase that percentage just that little bit more and hopefully do very decently indeed. Their upcoming fixtures, they have got their first game up against France. That is going to be taking place at 9:28 p.m. New Zealand time on the Saturday night. The next game up against Spain, that will be at 12:06 a.m. New Zealand time on Sunday morning. And then their last game up against the Argentines, 5:50. It's always entertaining when we get to see Fiji versus Argentina. Some of the head-to-head battles that we get to see: Josefa Talatholo versus Hermaine Schultz, Marcos Mineta versus Torrio Vailawa, 2 men who were scoring tries for fun in the opening round of the Dubai Sevens. Feel like that's going to be possibly even match of the competition. But now looking through at the squad, it is unchanged from what we did see in the Dubai Sevens. So for the Fijians, they have got Josesi Batitarenga, they have got Elikimi Vunaki, Kiminele Rasaku. He was one of the standout players I felt for Fiji throughout the Dubai Sevens. Jeremiah Matana, his size is just so influential out there on the field, being able to break through tackles, but his offloading game is also somewhere can be extremely dangerous. Felipe Saturanga, Natava Kurisau, a man who we didn't really get to see too much of throughout the Dubai Sevens. Rupeni Kabu, we got to see a little bit of that man. He is an absolute tank of an individual. He just runs over people for fun, and I have a feeling this weekend might be no different. Sevumoth and Othangi, when you talk about players running over other players, he is one that also does come to mind. Vuiviwa Nadovalo, not a huge amount of starting minutes for him, more coming off the bench, having a bit more of an impact. Josefa Talatholo, the captain, he is still going to be with the squad. Then Manueli Maisamo, a little bit in the same boat as what we saw for Nadovalo. Not a huge amount of minutes in Dubai, giving a few of those other guys a bit more of an opportunity early on in the season. Filippo Bucayaro and also Torrio Vailawa, 2 men who have been outstanding. Vailawa is just tearing through opposition any chance he gets, and I don't see Cape Town being any different. But now we are up to that stage of our prediction. Now last leg for Dubai, I predicted Fiji would win the whole thing. As you guys know, I'm terrible at predictions, but this week I'm feeling optimistic for Fiji. I feel like they got a bit unlucky in some of their games. Their last 2 in particular, they were extremely close to being able to win it. They just didn't quite take that opportunity. I think that in Dubai, We are going to see the Fijians at least make it to the semi-finals, but I am going to say they finish third. I think they'll come up against either South Africa or New Zealand in the semis and have a really, really close game, then narrowly miss out, redeem themselves with the bronze in comfortable fashion, and then we get to see what happens from here on out in the sevens competition. But do let me know how far you feel Fiji will go. They've also got the chance of course, winning the whole thing in Cape Town. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if they were able to get it right. We will be doing the live commentary on the channel as well for all of Fiji's games, so be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you all for the next one.